Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful for all the blessings of life. We're thankful for the opportunity to be here tonight to discuss the affairs of the school system. We ask that you grant us the wisdom that we might make those decisions that's in the best interest of our schools, our teachers, staff, and students, and parents, and community, and that we may always be an inspiration to them and help them find the paths that they would like to take. Be with us throughout this meeting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Superintendent. And for the record, Ms. Pan, we do have a quorum this evening, so we can conduct business there. Yes. And before we adopt the agenda, are there any just cause amendments that need to be made? If not, we'll seek a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moving to second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Item D, welcome visitors. See, we got someone on the front row whose face is not usually seen at these meetings, but if you have something that's not on the agenda, Mr. Casey, would you?
Should I?
Yes, sir. Please.
So that would be,
Thank you for having me. For the record, Jason Kaysen, resident of the city of Williston, also president of the city council of the city of Williston. And school board, tonight I'm here to make a presentation or to let you know of the plans. The city of Williston passed a resolution at our meeting on April the 7th, last Tuesday, to try to persuade the county commission to change the name of County Road 316, which is also Northeast 30th Street in Levy County, which is also Southwest 12th Avenue in the city of Williston, which is also Southeast 12th Avenue in the city of Williston. We would like to see that changed to Robert Philpott Avenue or Robert Philpott Way, and that is from the intersection of County Road 316 and Highway 41 to the intersection of 316 and Williston Southeast 8th Street. Basically, this is the location, road that would be where the new school would be located. For your information, I have provided a copy of the agenda item summary that will be submitted to the county commission tonight, along with a copy of the resolution that was passed and then a map showing the road, and there's one of them. We did take the liberty and maybe making some assumptions, and I can change this tonight if I need to, but in the background portion of the agenda summary, we state that we have consulted with the Levy County School Board, and representatives of the Levy County School Board have expressed support for this request. So certainly, if we've spoken out of line in that regard, we'll be glad to amend our application and take that out. Otherwise, basically here for your information, I will take any questions if you have any.
Mr. Casey, I have not expressed this with all of the board members, but certainly in office we have addressed it to a large degree, and also with Mr. Turner. And so I think your statement is accurate. While we can't take any action on it tonight, we will certainly be a partner with the city to make this happen.
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
That's basically why I'm here, and we look forward to the school coming up and for it to be located on Robert Philpott Way.
I'd ask Mr. Edison to stay in touch with you, and if there's anything that y'all need along this line, just let Mr. Edison know, and we'll try to help you. All right.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank
you. And I hate to just leave, but I do have a council meeting.
I understand that. I stayed at your meeting the other night till the full end.
I understand that, but you didn't have one right after that.
Oh, okay.
No,
Thank you.
we appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Mr. Casey.
Y'all have a great evening. You too.
I don't, well, we can't discuss it. That gives it to the lady, I don't know. Item B, Mr. Edison. Review board policy, chapter 7.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is Chapter 7, this
services we might have.
We got all the chapters in it.
We only did half of it.
Oh, I did have that.
Yeah, we spent,
We did all that?
You slept in the second half. We did.
Well, Edison does get to go.
So we'll go rather quickly through this, since I know that y'all received this in your packet and read it already. So, 7.01 talks about school budget system, defines the various fund balances and what they mean. And I will continue until you stop. Okay. 7.02, written procedures for administering the budget, talks about your role, superintendent's role, and how the budget works. 7.03, lease land or for us to lease or lease out land, just procedures and how all those agreements are put in place. Seven point oh four talks about bonded personnel and more bonded, and just gives us authority to do that. 7.05 talks about the internal accounts. Basically, this is the school accounts, and now those responsibilities fall there.
backing up just one moment, I guess we have to take this off here. We have noticed somewhere exactly what this legal expenditures are. Require that internal funds be used for legal public purposes. We have that somewhere that the schools are aware of.
It's called Red Book.
Red Book, okay.
And I will say that Mr. Clemens and Ms. Kroll, they meet with their various schools every year, and their secretaries, and they go through this and the different accounting procedures. And we all the books every year.
Thank you.
When I say we, I'm talking him. So,
It gets audited.
so
Well, we send it out to auditors
Right, exactly.
and they're audited by an outside agency.
school food service funds, this is, again, how to do with those, and this is a federal fund, so it gets quite a bit of close scrutiny. In fact, it's going to get audited this year, am I correct? 07 talks about financial records, how they're kept, how long they're kept. .08 is inventories and property records bureau award. He generally is one that conducts this every year. He's responsible for conducting property inventory. And if every item that's on a certain dollar threshold against inventory, then somebody lays their eyes on it. .09 talks about acquisition, use, and exchange of school property. Sometimes we have people who want to give us things, sometimes we have schools that want to swap properties. .10 talks about how you want to sell property. We do this when, like the school buses that we did, the first bus. Every now and then, we 7.11, we lose property, or someone loses it for us. And those are brought to you every year in the report. Talks about different school audits, or different audits, district audits, kind of fun that we talked about earlier. Purchasing and bidding, and basically there's a couple of different thresholds here. If it's over a certain dollar threshold, you have to have quotes or bids. If it's under a certain threshold, you have to have receive 3 quotes. Talks about who can, people that can't bid on different items and such like that. 7.14 is the payment of vouchers, that's been removed. 7.15, payroll procedures. It's just how the payroll department works. Seven point 16 talks about travel, and here you have basically three different types of travel, whether it's travel in district, travel outside of district, and then you have travel that's over 24 hours. Those are the ones that y'all come and approve, whether it's out of state or it's a trip that's overnight. Seven point 17, and that is created at school board. Basically, the school employee is responsible if they create that. Seven point 18 addresses fundraising activities at school. Talks about investments of funds, and Mr. Tillman brings these speakers from time to time to move different things around. Best interest of the board and the public. Seven point 2, risk management insurance. Seven point 2.1 talks about driver's ed. Vehicles for that. I can tell you that we haven't been able to lease vehicles for a long, long time. But it wasn't one time. We use our county vehicles. Seven point 22 talks about school pictures, and I'll just add a caveat here, something else that we asked in here is for them to be able to give us a electronic version of the school pictures so that they come on their own data system and on the school lunch system. So that's an additional requirement. 7.23 is an anti-fraud policy. And this is something that we have to answer here every year. When we audit for the year, we have a discussion on fraud. And every now and then, if we see something that we suspect might be irregular, we have reported it. 7.24, that's something that y'all initiated a couple many years ago on hospitality funds. Same thing with facsimile signatures, which is 7.25. And on the electronic record signature transfer funds. Kind of goes back. We do a lot of our business that way nowadays. As always, if y'all have any questions on or any things on medical policy, please don't hesitate to call myself or anybody.
Questions, comments at this time? Comment? Let's see, neither Mr. Clemens nor Mr. Superintendent been jailed recently, so I presume we're following all the policies as it relates to money, those hours and others. That's what we've heard. Okay, that at this point, that's Ms. Pam, are there any corrections to the minutes of
No.
March 24th?
No, sir.
Chair seeking approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the March 24th board meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion carries. On the consent agenda, Ms. Pam.
There is one change on page 1 of the consent agenda.
Okay.
Number 1, Crystal Woodley. I didn't have the effective date of her hire, which was, it should say
Crystal Woodley, CES teacher aide, effective March 24, 2015, position transferred from Joyce Bullock Elementary. And then the rest of the sentence will be correct. I'm just going to add that, insert that, when we approve the minutes.
And also, you know that at this time, there is no addition to the consent agenda.
No, sir.
So, with those two things behind us, Mr. Asbell, do you have any questions, comments regarding the consent agenda?
That's right, I don't believe it did. Believe I got it all. Understand what we got here.
Mr. Collins?
No, sir, we're good.
Okay. I had one, but it was answered earlier, but I still will bring it up one more time. Mr. Superintendent, is it our intent to purchase a UAV for whatever purposes? For drone? We're having, if you all know about the two, we're having two people being certified to teach it, and I'm wondering.
It's a brand new field, it's,
It is a brand new field, and I don't know where to go, but we certainly want to be on the cutting edge of the drones.
And I brought that up in levity, but that is certainly a way to move forward and to push the envelope, so to speak, in that direction. So, and those two individuals in the positions they're in, I think, are very appropriate candidates for doing that.
Mr. Turner, I do have one thing, I would be remiss without saying that I'm sad to see number 2. So Ms. Becky has served our kids real well, and I appreciate, I know she's not here, but I appreciate all she's done for us, and so I wish her the best.
Thank you for that comment, and it is echoed, I'm sure. There are no further questions, comments. We're looking for a motion for approval. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any additional discussion? If none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Item H.
Is that me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I got a couple of things I want to bring to the attention of the board. I want to, first of all, express my sincere best wishes to Kyra Keldon of Chiefland. She was accepted at least 4 of the Ivy League schools that she applied at, all that she applied at. I'm sure she would have been accepted in all 8 had she applied at all 8. But anyway, I think she has chosen Harvard to go to, and she is just a wonderful young lady, so personable, athletic, and involved in the FFA. She took and passed AP courses. She did dual enrollment courses at UF by our articulation agreement with them, and she was just an outstanding citizen for Chiefland High School. And I certainly want to wish her well at Harvard, and encourage her to look up Quincy Kenson, and maybe they can carpool back and forth together, or fly on the same plane, or however they're going to get back and forth from Harvard. But I think that the kind of putting that as a goal to go to an Ivy League school is such a great goal for our students. And this year in particular, Harvard accepted a lower percentage of people than they ever have before. They only accepted 5.38% of all of the people that applied. Of course, over 39,000 kids applied to Harvard, and less than 2,000 were accepted. And Kyra being one of them, I think that's quite a tribute. So anybody that wants to express the thought that they cannot be successful in our schools, whether it's Williston, Bronson, Cedar Key, or Chiefland, our high school, they are wrong. And we have people to prove it. We have U.S. representatives, and they graduated from Bronson, doctors, lawyers from all of the And I just can't tell you how proud I am of these students that go on.
Would
We
it be
also have,
possible, would it be possible to have, come in? Maybe get Lou over here to get her picture? I mean, I mean this in all sincerity, I know it's fantastic that we have a student going to an Ivy League school, and if you haven't read the paper, if you haven't seen Facebook, if you haven't watched the video, we're supposedly not up to par, our school system's not up to par. We got a kid going to Harvard,
Two of them,
and there another one going Brown, going Brown or something?
yeah, we had one going to Brown, another I believe.
I think it'd be great, to see. It's not, and that's not trying to shortchange the countless ones going to University of Florida, Florida State University.
It's
What
not
you consider
the
upper echelon.
University of Florida is a council.
So if we're failing, it sure looks like a bunch of success when you look at that, doesn't it?
I know last year we had 7 students from Chiefland apply to UF, and all 7 were accepted. I don't remember the numbers of the other schools, but they were in that same vein. So, yes, you are so right. I do not want to shortchange Quincy. You know, and I don't know if we can coordinate Quincy and Kyra and young man that went to Brown, I can't think of his name.
Well, there is an initiative that I was made aware of. It's called National Signing Day. And instead of it being for athletes, it's for all of our students to get accepted to a 4-year college. So that's a program I'm looking into. Anna Arnold just sent me that. So that's something we might be able to coordinate with all our schools, and on the same day, have all the ones that have been accepted to a 4-year college participate in that signing day. And that would also go along with our AVID type initiatives. We really want to promote this.
I got a sad bag. Would y'all mind if I pull a chair out here and sit down?
Sure.
I'm not doing it. Good standing up right at the moment.
Does that mean you're going to talk longer?
Yes, sir.
What's wrong?
I think that. Support my back.
Oh, I thought maybe he was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, somebody movie doll here.
It's a fireside chat.
One thing that's on the top of all the educators' list is House Bill 7069. And late last week, you know, the House took it and they just kind of passed it just like the Senate had written it. And before there was a lot of contention back and forth, and all of a sudden, boom, it's passed. I encourage them to do this the first week of legislative meetings, because timing is an issue. But anyway, they passed it late last week, and then the governor signed it this morning. And so it is now law. It is official law, and it addresses a lot of the concerns. It addresses more of the concerns than I ever hoped for. Basically, all of the small rural districts. It addressed a lot of the platforms that we put forth, and so I welcome it. But it creates more questions at the moment than what we have answers for. And you know, to try to make sure that we're all doing the same thing and on the same page with other districts and other counties, and not get out there too far and go in the wrong direction, because the state will be watching us closely. But if you'd like, I'll just go over briefly. If you want to download the whole bill or law now, it's only 65 pages long, and you know, you can read it. But I just kind of highlighted some of the points and think that this may help. And first of all was the school start date. All schools have the same start date, 10 start date now on August the 10th. Wonderful thing to get started earlier, get our high school semesters over by Christmas, and you know, go from there, and it gives us more time before the state standardized test. It's a wonderful thing. But timing, we've already passed it, and we have professional development set up with the state. We have people with vacations. We have all kinds of issues to change the calendar at this time of year. If they'd have come to us a month ago, it would have been an easy fix, but now it's not. So, but in the future, I think it's wonderful to be able to start 2 weeks earlier than we have been.
But if they had done that, Mr. Superintendent, then the calendar committee and all wouldn't have anything to do.
They have to dance around, with all the tests and all of the holidays, religious days, fair events, spring break. It's still a challenge. Section 5 removes reference to 11th grade ELA as required by the scholars designation, and that's good because they've already taken their EOC, so that was an easy fix for them. Section 7 removes 11th grade ELA requirement. It identifies the EOC assessment as Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, Biology 1, U.S. History, and Civics, and requires administration to students enrolled in such courses. And so, those are your EOCs that state sanctioned. The results constitutes 30% of the student's final course grade. And to get all of that on the same page is big, because before we had some students, depending on what grade you were in, whether you were 8, 9, 10, 11, and taking Algebra 1 as to how much it counted and so forth. And so to get that all on one page, I think is wonderful. The implementation schedule, easy for you to say, implementation schedule. The Florida State's assessment, FSA, and Algebra 1, Geometry, EOC assessments, they must be computer-based assessments. And this codifies the current schedule for these computer-based assessments, like 3rd grade ELA won't start until the year 17-18, 3rd grade math in 16-17, and on computer now. And 4th grade ELA in 2015-16, 4th grade math 16-17. Codifies those courses for computer-based assessments. Required performance results on standardized assessment, EOC and FAA to be provided to teachers and parents by the end of the school year. Let me read that again. Requires performance results on standardized assessments of the EOCs and the FSA to be provided to teachers and parents by the end of the school year. I would love to see that. Not sure it will, but it's in law right now. Each district must establish assessment schedule and approve such schedule at a school board meeting. So we will establish the timeline for all assessments, and then y'all will approve that calendar. And then we must publish that calendar on our website so that all parents, teachers, everybody has access to it. And we have to submit that schedule to DOE by October of each year for DOE to approve it. A district, and this is one thing that's been kind of contentious, a district may not schedule more than 5% of the students' total school hours in a year to administer statewide and district-required local assessment. And we really don't have a problem with that except in high school. And we've got to be careful there. But in elementary and all, we're fine. We'll be less than, how many hours is the testing, 2,700? 27. The 5% of their total school hours would be 2,700 school hours. So basically, we're less than that, except for we might run over in a few high school where a child may take a lot of classes, like, well, they don't have to take AP or IB course final exams, but if they want college credit, they have to, and then they will be required. So anyway, I don't think we'll have too big a problem with the 5% rule. Each student who does not achieve a level 3 or above on the ELA or math sections of Algebra 1 EOC must be evaluated to determine the area of academic needs and strategies for providing academic support to improve performance. A student who is not meeting the district or state requirements for satisfactory performance in ELA or math must be covered by one of the following. Oh, you're going to be very busy. It says a federally required student plan such as an IEP for all level 1s, 2s students, and those that don't pass the ELC. No, that's going to throw it on all of us and the principals. Or establish a school-wide system of progress monitoring for all students, except for those that are level 4s and 5s. If they're level 4s and 5s, you don't have to monitor them, but all of the others you would. Or give them an individualized monitoring plan for everybody level 3 and down. To be promoted to grade 4, a student must score level 2 or higher on the ELA assessment in grade 3. And this is the tricky part here. In the independent verification of the psychometric validity of the statewide standardized assessment, first implemented in 2014-15, this year, must be completed before the 2014-15 school grade results may be published, and before the student performance data resulting from such assessments may be used for the purpose of instructional personnel and school administrator evaluations. So the validity by a panel has to be completed before, and say that it's valid. Now, if they come up and say it's not valid, then the whole game's off. But if they come up and say the tests are valid, then you can't retain students and you can't evaluate teachers and administrators until you get that study completed. And then, yes, there is a timeline for that.
Is that the panel that 11?
No, that's a different panel. This one only has 3 people on it, and it's somebody that's picked by the governor or the governor's office, or Kim McDougal would do. Somebody's picked by the Speaker of the House and by the President of the Senate, those 3. And of course, they will have to have a background in psychometrics and, probably doctorate degrees in that. And so to make sure that they have the credentials to validate the test or not. And could be college professors, I think Barb Rivers may know some of those. Anyway, the Department of Education shall immediately contract with this independent entity to perform the independent verification, which must be completed by September 1st of 2015. Oh, that panel has to be chosen by June 1st of this year. And then their study must be completed by September the 1st. So that means we'll probably get the results by December 1st. School grades to send home for Christmas presents, I don't know. The performance evaluation criteria are modified and must include student performance. This is all evaluation now, performance evaluation. Student performance, at least 1/3 must be based on data and indicators of student performance or growth or achievement data. So 1/3 of a teacher evaluation and administrators, because they evaluate on this data for the school. 1/3. Instructional practice for instructional personnel, at least 1/3 of the performance evaluation must be based on instructional practice. And for school administrators, their instructional leadership. The remainder of a performance evaluation may include, but is not limited to, professional job responsibilities and things that's identified by the school board and peer reviews, and objective, reliable survey information for students and parents effect until the study's done. Measurement of student performance. A statewide formula, the VAM score value-added model, to measure learning growth on the FSA is maintained, but the commissioner is no longer required to select additional formulas to measure student performance on the remainder of statewide standardized assessments. So, other than the FSA test, like the EOCs and district exams, there won't be a formula. I suppose the commissioner's doesn't have to give us a formula for assessing student performance on those. Each district must measure student learning growth using formulas approved by the commissioner for standards or performance level adopted by the State Board of Education. So we will develop formulas. It has to be approved by the State Board of Education to measure student learning growth. It's not going to be easy. For local assessment, each school district must measure student performance using a methodology determined by the district. Can of worms there. Anyway, that's basic information in the 65-page law. Legislative season's not over. I'm sure there'll be more legislation to come. But mainly, I think right now, all the districts are scurrying about trying to figure out exactly how we're going to get this in place, the new criteria. And so, of course, we will be working with the districts within DFAC and some of the other counties that we have contact with, and try to put together a game plan that would be acceptable by the state and that we can live with. If you got any questions, Barb can answer any questions you have.
Actually, I'm getting ready to send it to you.
Questions, comments? Is that all, Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Board member comments? Mr. Adbell?
My biggest thing that I have is we've recently had 2 examples of the outstanding work that our schools do in the safety of our children. And when I say our schools, I don't just mean administration. I mean every cog in the wheel that is the Lee County School System. We have a situation in Bronson, we have a situation in Wilson. Don't need to talk about those. But as a school board member, I take great pride in how fast those 2 situations were handled. And you cannot commend our employees at their schools, at this office, throughout the whole situation, enough on that. As a parent of 3 children in the Lee County School System, it warms my heart to know that people in authority were willing to put themselves in harm's way to protect my 3 little boys. And I publicly want them all to know how much that means to me and how impressed I am with the whole operation of the Community Superintendent and all of you and all our employees, because that was just outstanding in both of those situations. That's the big thing. I believe Mr. Coward's going to get on some things with some of the legislative stuff. I noticed the charter school thing, and I just want to hear some thoughts on that. That kind of concerned me, and I want to hear some
That
thoughts.
is the elephant in the room right at the moment. The bill says that we had to give a portion of our 1.5 mil money to charter schools based on their FTE, their enrollment. And so, it would be devastating to smaller rural communities. If our millage was at 2% like it used to be 8 years ago, then it's no problem. But then went to 1.75 and now 1.5. 1.5, and at 1.5, and especially since we got special facility funding, and I signed the contract saying for the next 3 years, I would send all 1.5 mils back to the state for Williston High School being built on special facility dollars. We have zero, at the moment, the way it stands, we have $0 for the ad valorem taxes.
That was a concern of mine, and we have committed for 3 years to that, to a project that is definitely needed. And I'm not sitting here knocking the charter school, but every school has its place. But it bothered me that if that were imposed, where are we gonna get the money? That's gonna hurt us
Yeah.
viciously.
And not on them, but this would devalue our credit rating. And then it would make it more difficult for us to borrow money, and if we borrowed money to replace a bus or air conditioning, and if, I think if these two people had an air conditioner out in the classroom, they'd want it fixed, you know, so we gotta have those kind of dollars. And, but I was in Bill Lunsford's office, and he said, if this bill passes, what will it do to Levy County? I said, we're underwater. We're drowning. We will drown. And he said, that's what I thought. And so the Senate part is fighting it. And I think I'm afraid that this is a ploy that they use to barter back and forth. And because the House has it in there, the Senate doesn't. Anyway, it is an elephant in the room.
That one was a concern. I'm done.
That was one of the things, so with the charter schools, and we just need to continue reaching out to the Senate. So Senator Lunsford and Senator Dean have been very good allies of our schools, but just need to definitely reach out. And so I would encourage each of you to fire off an email.
So we also need to continue to reach out to the representatives too, and they're in our corner, to our local authority. But all of them need to understand how devastating that would be to small rural counties.
And along that line, so Representative Stone was very, very good. So I know you were just in Tallahassee a couple weeks ago, so there was an issue that our lobbyist had, so it reached out to us, and Representative Stone was right on top of it, so, and very, very appreciative of the language as things keep going, so that it's very, very positive for us, so, but that is a concern. Do you have anything?
No.
Okay. As far as my comments, so big thank you to Mr. Jeff for coming for the Arts Festival, so with PTO booth and being down there and helping out, so. And also just a big thank you to everybody, to echo Mr. Asbell's statement. So I really felt like it was just a well-oiled machine of taking care of things and feeling like there's the communication between all the police officers and sheriff's department, so our district staff, Williston High School staff. So very, very big thank you to them. So that is such an important thing for us. So I'm trying to think. Don't forget, we have Evening of Excellence coming up, so May 11th, so Monday night, to recognize our Teacher of the Year, ESP, and our Volunteers of the Year. If there's anything else, I think that's everything.
Everything else? Okay,
It'll be at Williston Elementary.
chastised from above, Mr. Edison, could you give us a brief update on the carrying on of the new Williston Middle High School?
As of right now, we've received the bids for the site prep work and the utilities, and they're being vetted. Matter of fact, out there right now, they're actually digging holes on the property right now just to make sure that the site prep work quotes and stuff are what they are, because Williston is noted for clay and rock. So they want to make, the contractors want to make sure they know what they're getting into, and to, whether, of course, where the bids are going to come in. So they want to make sure that we're bidding the right job. We've got a meeting next Thursday for the opening of all the other packages, and they're going to be bringing to you the following Tuesday a GMP for the site prep work and the utilities. And if that's so approved, then they'll start construction the first week of May. And then the following subsequent board meeting, they'll bring the GMP to you for everything else. I believe that's to be the way I understand.
That's what I understand. Okay, thank you for that. That was the only comment that the.
And I get comments and conversations at least 3 times a week with Mr. Duffy and we're going forward. So we got a meeting out there tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, to look at dirt.
You're gonna look at dirt.
I'm gonna look at dirt and rocks and holes.
Sounds good to me. Is there any other business to come before the board at this time after Mr. Delay?
If I may. I just wanted to check and see where we are on automated external defibrillators. Do we have about,
We have 2 in every school.
okay.
There's
There's
one right out here if you need one.
well, I've got a tragic update about that. A case came from the Florida Supreme Court. Every parent, every teacher's nightmare. A 15-year-old player from Lee County at a soccer game collapsed, and the Supreme Court was looking into the lawsuit that ensued after that. Player collapsed, like the initial response was right on. Coaches are out there, found the player non-responsive. EMS is on the field within 10 minutes of him going down, and were able to get his heart restarted with their defibrillator that they had on a truck. The issue in the case, though, was there was a defibrillator out at the soccer field, and one of the coaches said that he had called for it, but in all of the confusion or all of the activity with CPR getting started and EMS getting called, no one went and got the AED. And so that's what the parents' lawsuit was about. And the Supreme Court decided 2 things. The first thing was that there is a duty to take reasonable actions to protect the child, and they're going to leave that up to the jury to decide if it was reasonable just to start CPR, or if reasonable also meant somebody had to go down and actually get the AED. The other issue was, well, isn't there supposed to be an immunity that comes with having those things on campus? Just because you have it, that means that you shouldn't get sued as a result of having it. And what the court decided there is that immunity only applies if somebody actually uses or attempts to use the AED. So I would recommend, if it would be helpful, maybe I could touch base and we could just check what our policies are, what our protocol is, and make sure that our coaches or our campus administrators are clear on that. Step 1, activate EMS. Step 2, having somebody designated to go get the AED. That might be
Okay.
You know, and probably when we have our coaches meeting to kick off the year, if we could have Mr. Delaney there, that'd be good, because we have such a turnover with coaches, and
I'd welcome the chance to do that.
that'd be wonderful.
And just FYI, they require maintenance. And 2 things are the batteries and the actual pads. And, you know, I mean, they're all over cheaper than life, but they are very expensive things to maintain. But I think the batteries last 2 years and the pads have to be every year. There's an expiration date on them. So those are something that our health department, they get inspected every year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'll ask again, is there any further business to come before the board at this time? If none, meeting is adjourned.